So it is Thursday the 30th of May and my drugs have just arrived, which is quite exciting. I thought it might be interesting to unbox them together because yeah, it looks like a lot, so it'll be interesting to see actually how much is in here. So let's have a look. I'm going to start with the smallest. Okay. Ooh, that's interesting. So I know that the Cyclogest, these are the suppositories that you take after, I don't think it's after egg collection, I think it's after you've had your transfer. So these are progesterone pessaries. So they go in vaginally or rectally. So that'll be fun. And they didn't really tell me anything about this in the teacher appointment, and they said that would be explained by the nurses once we've been in. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And then Gonasi. So Gonasi is my trigger injection. So yeah, this one as well doesn't seem to need to go in the fridge. So I won't need that for another couple of weeks. Excellent. And then this exciting little box. This is the Sharps box, obviously. So yeah, I have to find a place for this one. That'll be interesting. Okay, so those are the first things. So they're obviously the non-refrigerated stuff, that's why it's in a separate box. Okay, now for the big one. It's important to keep refrigerated, it says at the top. A nice little leaflet about how to administer benfoldin. Okay. Yeah, I can feel this is cold. It's got ice packs in it, so it definitely needs to go in the fridge. I'll be putting it in there straight away. So. In here we've got Septitide, which is my second injection. That's 0.25 milligrams. And it doesn't actually, so the nurse was really clear that each box would have a sticker on it that said keep refrigerated, and that's how you would know which ones need to be kept refrigerated. But this does not have a sticker on it. Definitely does not have a sticker on it. It was in the box that had keep refrigerated sticker on it, but she said that each of the boxes would have a sticker on, which they don't. So that's fun. It's always nice getting wrong information, which happens quite a lot, I'm finding. I'll tell you a little bit about the drama of getting these. Yeah, tell you a little bit about the drama of getting these delivered once we've got them all open and in the fridge. And then this is my benfola. So I'm on 3 milligrams of benfola, and this is my first injection. So I'm going to get these in the fridge straight away. I've actually cleared a box for them because this was full of beer, which I'm not going to be drinking, and Martin's definitely, well, I'm not going to be drinking for the next few weeks. So yeah, cause I've stopped drinking anything for the last month or so, just to cleanse my body. I mean, they say you can keep drinking moderately, but I've been kind of treating it as if I'm pregnant already, just to give me the best chance. My friend actually gave me a really nice, good piece of advice. And in the fridge, she said she'd had a friend who'd gone through IVF and their first try didn't work, and she just kept questioning herself, you know, if I hadn't had that Diet Coke, or if I hadn't had, you know, that glass of wine, then maybe that would have made a difference. And you want to do everything you can to not be in that situation, so that's why I decided to cut out caffeine as if I was pregnant, so I get to have 1 cup of tea in the morning with a bit of caffeine, but other than that I don't have any, and cut out alcohol and try and have as balanced a good diet as possible. So I thought I would just go through the stuff that we went through at the Teach as well with all that medication, because I still find it a bit hard to get my head around exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm fairly organised and I'm fairly good at remembering information, but even this is a bit over-facing. So that first injection, that Benforma, I keep forgetting what it's called as well now, Benfola, that's my first injection, and I'll take that for the first 4 days. So yeah, this doesn't have any information on it. So this is my kind of chart. It hasn't got any of the dates in yet, as you can see, but I will take Benfola for the first 4 days just on its own. That's 1 injection. And then when I get to day 5, I'll then start using the Cetrotide for another 4 days, as well as the Benfola. The Benfola is the stimulation drug, so that's stimulating your follicles to produce more eggs, and the Cetrotide is the kind of prohibitor that stops you from ovulating, stops you from having a regular cycle, so that those follicles can continue to mature into proper eggs. So you do that until day 8, and then on day 8 you do the normal injections, the 2 injections, but then you go to the hospital and get a blood test and a scan. I imagine this varies a little bit between clinics, but this is how my clinic does it. And when you go in for that blood test and scan, they're basically testing whether the follicles are maturing. And, oh, she didn't give me this actually, but she showed me a booklet that you have in your notes, which had lines of different sizes, and when you go in on day 8, it's likely that the size of your follicles will be at the bottom end of the lines, and in the middle they have like a blue patch, which is the sweet spot, I guess, that they want you to give you your trigger injection. So when you go in on day 8, it's likely that they'll be just below that blue line, and they'll be developing nicely, hopefully. So then they send you away. They might change the drugs that you're on if they're not developed enough or they're developing too much, and they might change the dosage, and then you go away and they might get you to come in the next day, or they might get you to come in 2 days' time. And apparently that week from day 8 to day 14 is the really busy period where you'll be kind of in and out of hospital every other day, just getting blood tests and scans to see where you're up to with your follicles, and then obviously then to go in to actually get your eggs harvested. So I've kind of blocked out that week. Well, for me actually it's over a weekend when I'm supposed to be going to see Westlife, so it's looking like that's probably not going to happen. But yeah, I've kind of blocked out that weekend thinking I could be in and out of the hospital. So yeah, apparently they said it's really unpredictable. They can't really tell you how much and how often they want to see you, because it's completely dependent on your hormones. But yeah, so once your eggs get it within that blue line when they're testing your blood test and your scan, then they'll tell you to take your trigger injection, which is that one that Ganosi, this one. And that trigger injection has to be taken exactly 36 hours before your theatre, when you're getting your eggs removed. And apparently that is any time between 10 PM and 2 AM, because theatre is always between 7 AM and 2 PM the following day. So you have to set an alarm on your phone. They're really, really specific about it, and you take it exactly on the dot of the time that they've told you to take it, so that when you come into theatre it's exactly 36 hours after that point, that trigger injection. So I think that is everything to do with the drugs. I am a bit nervous about it. I think doing it to yourself for the first time will just feel totally against any impulse. Your body doesn't want to stab yourself. But I imagine you get used to it really quickly, and that's what people say, because you're doing 1, if not 2 injections for 10 days. So yeah, that's kind of everything I want to say about the drugs. Oh yeah, the final thing is the bit of the roller coaster that is going through IVF. So when we went to our teach last Friday, we were really clear that we needed to have an urgent delivery of the drugs because my cycle starts on the 4th of June, and we wanted to make sure that we had the drugs and it was all set up before then. And so we had this conversation with the nurse. We'd actually talked to a nurse the previous week when we'd been in for blood tests, and she said, yeah, just tell the nurse when you go to your teach that you want it urgent and we can get it for next day delivery. So we talked to her about that, and she said, oh well, actually you don't need to do urgent because that's next day, but the next delivery is on the 29th. So we can just book it in for the 29th and that will be absolutely fine. And it originally said on our notes the 31st, so she pulled it forward by a couple of days, and she said, no, that's absolutely fine, I'll send it off today and you'll get your delivery on the 29th. As you can see, it's the 30th and I've just got it, so that didn't work out because it was a bank holiday. So we obviously had our teach on Friday morning, and on the Tuesday, when I was expecting to get a email or text or something from the company that were delivering the drugs, and I learned to not trust everything that they tell you, and it doesn't always go to plan, and I've had to chase every single appointment that I've been to. So when it got to about 10:30 on Tuesday, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to call them because I'd rather know now if they haven't got it than wait all day and not get a text message. So I called the company. I'd been given their booklet to say that I'd like to arrange delivery, and they said they hadn't received the prescription, and I'd actually already asked at the teach what would happen, who should I call if I don't get that text message, and she said, we'll call them in the first instance, and if they haven't received the prescription then it's our fault and you have to call us. So that's what I did straight away. I called St Mary's, and there's always a really long wait, but I got through to somebody on the Tuesday, and unfortunately I had to be quite firm with her because she couldn't understand why I was a bit frustrated that I'd been told one thing and it hadn't happened. And she was saying, you know, obviously it would have been impossible for that to happen over the bank holiday weekend, which it wouldn't be. If she'd sent the prescription on the Friday, it would have got there on the Tuesday, and then they could have delivered it for the Wednesday. So she said she was going to take it away, and she called me back within about half an hour, which was great, and because I was all ready to chase again. And she said she was taking the prescription over to the pharmacy right now, so it hadn't happened on Friday, the prescription hadn't been taken, and I should hear from the company that were distributing it the next day, which I did. In fact, I heard from them that day. Yeah, I heard from them that day. And then I was able to arrange delivery for the 30th. Not for the 29th, but I could arrange it for the 30th. So, I guess my advice is... Oh, sorry, my cat is making loads of noise. I have found that I take a proactive approach because it makes me feel a little bit more in control, and expecting that things won't go to plan and won't go the way that I've been told, like with the stickers for going in the fridge. I know it seems like a really small thing, but when it's such an unknown experience and you've got no knowledge to build on, the only knowledge you're going on is the information you're being told by these nurses and doctors, and then you're finding places where that information isn't correct, is really disconcerting. So yeah, I've just kind of learned to expect that the information won't be 100% accurate and preempt that by calling a lot. So unfortunately I'm going to be one of those patients, and I'm normally pretty chilled out, but this experience is definitely heightening my need to have some control, because it's definitely something that's completely out of your control. So we will see how the next couple of weeks go, and we'll keep you updated.